Being the President of the United States comes with a lot of power, but also a ton of rules and responsibility. Basically, living in the White House is living in a museum. And it's not just the president that has to follow the rules, but also the entire family. With the potential candidacy of Donald Trump for the 2024 presidential election, it's worthwhile to revisit the rules that his children were expected to abide by during his previous presidency. What's it like being the child of the president? We'll let you know what limits they face in their day-to-day life, even as most of them have now grown up. Decorating. While the White House may serve as the official residence of the president and their family, there are, indeed, certain limits and guidelines that must be followed. It's a well-known fact that the first family has the liberty to decorate the White House according to their tastes. Yet Barron Trump, the youngest member, doesn't have free reign over every room in this historic mansion. Take the Lincoln Room, for instance. This room, once utilized as an office by the esteemed former President Abraham Lincoln, has since been transformed into a bedroom. However, it remains off-limits to even the first family when it comes to any redecoration endeavors. Respecting its historical significance, the Trump family may comfortably spend their leisure time in the yellow Oval Room, yet they too are bound by certain restrictions when it comes to altering its appearance. The objective here is to safeguard and preserve its rich historical importance, preventing any decorative modifications. Moreover, whenever the Trump family decides to infuse their personal style into other areas of the White House, they must collaborate closely with a historical curator. This ensures that any changes made align with the historical and cultural heritage of this iconic residence. Moving in. The dynamic of the Trump family living arrangements has shifted over time, particularly in relation to Barron, their youngest member. Traditionally, the president's spouse and children reside within the White House, a practice that stems from both security and practical considerations. The heightened security provided within the White House ensures the safety of the first family and also simplifies logistics. However, when Donald Trump assumed office, he diverged from this tradition, citing educational considerations for his son, Barron. At the time, Barron was attending school in New York, which prompted Melania and Barron to reside in the Fifth Avenue penthouse for the initial 5 months of Trump's presidency. This move was a departure from the norm, allowing Barron to continue his education uninterrupted. As the years have passed, Barron has grown, and he is now 17 years old. This means that if Donald Trump were to be elected as the next president in 2024, the rule mandating Barron's presence in the White House may no longer apply. With his increased age and independence, Barron may have the option to pursue his own living arrangements while continuing to focus on his education and other pursuits. Preservation. Living in the White House, as incredible as it sounds, comes with its own set of unique challenges, especially for Barron back then. Unlike the typical parental reminders to use coasters and avoid putting feet on the table, the rules about care and respect in the White House are on a whole different level. The reason being that this historic residence houses an impressive array of artifacts and valuable items that demand meticulous preservation. For young Barron, this means he can't casually drape his coat across the grand piano or treat the furnishings with anything less than utmost care. The White House's curator plays a pivotal role in this regard. It is their responsibility to educate and guide the first family, including Barron, on the proper methods for maintaining and preserving priceless artwork, historical relics, and other artifacts meticulously stored within the White House. Living in such a historically significant and revered place like the White House undoubtedly offers remarkable experiences, but it also necessitates a heightened level of awareness and respect for the historical treasures that fill every corner of this iconic residence. Protection. One of the significant perks that accompany the presidency of the United States is the unparalleled level of protection provided to the commander-in-chief and their family. The president is always surrounded by a mandatory and highly trained security force to ensure their safety. However, what many might not realize is that this courtesy extends to the president's family members, even the adult children, and this includes Barron Trump. Throughout the history of presidential families, it has been common practice for them to benefit from this added layer of security, and it's not difficult to understand why. The unique position of being a president's child comes with its own set of challenges and potential security risks. To address this, it's quite typical for presidential children, including those in college, to receive Secret Service protection. An interesting point to note is that some former presidents, such as Bill Clinton and George W. Bush, went a step further and requested extensions for Secret Service protection for their college-bound children, even after leaving office. While it's true that the protection provided by the Secret Service comes at a considerable cost, most presidents' children, including Barron Trump, willingly adhere to the rules and guidelines set by this elite security agency. Christmas tree. The White House truly comes alive with enchantment during the Christmas season, making it a magical time of year. Among the cherished traditions observed, one particular tradition stands out as both recent and significant. It involves the adornment of Christmas trees within the White House, each year following a unique theme. This delightful tradition was initiated back in 1961 by former First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy, and has continued uninterrupted to this day. It adds a special touch of festivity and creativity to the White House during the holiday season. The very first themed tree, inspired by the enchanting Nutcracker Ballet, was proudly displayed in the Oval Blue Room. One intriguing aspect of this tradition is that it takes the burden of decorating the tree away from the Trump children, sparing them from having to decorate it with their mom and dad. Consequently, they don't have the opportunity to hang up those cherished handmade ornaments that many families use to adorn their Christmas trees during this festive time of year. Windows. Living in the White House may come with immense prestige, but it also entails adhering to some rather peculiar rules. Among these regulations are a set of restrictions on everyday activities that might strike most people as quite unusual. For instance, when traveling with the Secret Service, should any of the Trump children feel a bit stuffy in the car, they're strictly prohibited from rolling down the windows. It might seem like an odd security measure, but it's taken seriously, and this window policy isn't exclusive to car rides. It extends to the White House windows as well. Moreover, the notion of cruising around in a convertible is entirely off-limits for presidential families. This prohibition traces back to a tragic event in American history, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. In the wake of that devastating incident, the Secret Service essentially abandoned the idea of presidents and their families enjoying open-top rides in convertibles for safety reasons. Groceries. Have you ever pondered how the financial aspects work at the White House? It's an intriguing question indeed. Surprisingly, the president isn't burdened with concerns about covering utility bills like electricity or other essential expenses. However, when it comes to groceries, the responsibility falls squarely on the president's shoulders. This implies that if the Trump children plan to pay their dad a visit, it's him who'll be footing the bill for their meals and snacks. They're also obliged to cover the costs of their personal items, much like they would if they were residing anywhere other than the White House. Moreover, should they decide to relocate, the onus of managing the moving expenses rests on their shoulders as well. Additions. Living in the White House undoubtedly has its perks, but it also comes with its own set of restrictions. Imagine, for instance, if Barron Trump had aspirations of enlarging the swimming pool. Such a venture necessitates a unique set of approvals and permissions. A similar tale of bureaucratic hurdles was experienced by President Obama when he endeavored to transform the tennis court into a versatile basketball court. This endeavor proved to be no small feat, requiring intricate negotiations and a series of approvals before the modification could eventually see the light of day. These examples underscore how even seemingly minor alterations within the White House premises can entail a complex process. The kids aren't supposed to take on official roles in the administration. One of the enduring controversies during Donald Trump's presidency revolved around the roles his adult children assumed within his administration. Ivanka Trump, his daughter, was granted the title of Special Advisor to the President. In this capacity, she shouldered a myriad of unspecified responsibilities, but was widely acknowledged to wield significant influence. Meanwhile, her husband, Jared Kushner, took on the role of White House Innovations Director shortly after the president's inauguration. This situation raised eyebrows for many observers due to a long-standing guideline that advises against presidential family members holding positions within the White House. The crux of the issue can be traced back to a piece of legislation enacted in 1967, known as the Anti-Nepotism Law. This law expressly prohibits the president from appointing a family member to work in the office or agency they oversee. However, Ivanka Trump remained in compliance with this legal framework, as the law does not preclude children or Kushner from serving as unpaid advisors, a classification that accurately described their roles within the White House. The nuances of these positions generated much debate and scrutiny throughout the Trump administration. Private school. As previously mentioned, the Secret Service places an immense emphasis on safeguarding the president and their family. It's a duty they take extremely seriously. Consider for a moment the logistical nightmare they would face if the president's children were enrolled in public schools. The public education system offers a far more uncontrollable environment, replete with numerous variables, which would inevitably pose significant security challenges. Consequently, it has become customary for the president's children to opt for private schooling as a safer alternative. Remarkably, there is only one instance of a sitting president breaking this established tradition within the last century. This exception harks back to the presidency of Jimmy Carter, and it was made on behalf of his youngest daughter, Amy Carter. Amy, unlike her predecessors, attended Rose Stevens Elementary School, which was then known as the Rose Hardy Middle School. This decision stirred quite a bit of discussion and raised questions about security protocol during her time there, marking a rare departure from the norm. They have to participate in certain events, like the Easter egg roll. Despite the limitations imposed by Congress's anti-nepotism law, which restricts presidential children from assuming official roles within the administration, they are still expected to participate in various events held at the White House. These events are an integral part of White House tradition and often involve the president, first lady, and their children. One such event is the White House Easter egg roll, a time-honored tradition that dates back to 1878 during President Rutherford B. Hayes's administration, as documented by the White House Historical Association. Each year, in February, a public lottery is held, and the fortunate winners gain the opportunity to attend this prestigious event. The White House Easter egg roll is celebrated on Easter Monday, and it features a wide array of family-oriented activities. Highlights of the day include the iconic egg roll, captivating live musical performances, and the touching act of coloring and assembling cards for American service members. As a testament to the enduring significance of this event, in April 2018, when Melania Trump served as host for the 140th Easter egg roll, both Donald Trump Jr. and Barron Trump were in attendance. Inauguration. Like any devoted parent, part of the presidential role entails attending all of your children's various events and ceremonies. Whether it's cheering them on at basketball games, applauding their achievements during award ceremonies, or engaging in productive parent-teacher conferences, these are the moments parents cherish. However, when you're the President of the United States, you have the unique privilege, or perhaps burden, of ensuring your children's presence at your own official events. One such event, and perhaps the most prominent of them all, is the presidential inauguration. It's an occasion of immense significance, an awe-inspiring moment that marks the transfer of power and leadership in the nation. Consequently, it is expected that the Trump children, as members of the first family, are in attendance. In this case, there is simply no getting out of this pivotal event, regardless of any prior commitments or teenage reluctance. The presidential inauguration remains an integral part of the presidential family's public responsibilities. They have to dress up for dinner. Formal dinners at the White House are an experience that places presidential kids squarely in the public eye. Every move they make, every word they utter is subject to intense scrutiny. Even as children, they are expected to adhere to a level of decorum and behavior that is far beyond their years. For instance, first daughter Amy Carter faced public criticism when she brought books to a state dinner to keep herself entertained. It's a stark reminder that presidential kids must always be on their best behavior during such high-profile functions. This isn't just about adhering to social norms, it's about managing perceptions and avoiding undue criticism. Edward Lengel, chief historian of the White House Historical Association, highlighted the strict code of decorum and conduct expected from presidential children at official functions. He emphasized that even when attending these events, they are required to dress impeccably. Coming to a formal dinner wearing casual attire is out of the question. It's essential to make a respectable appearance. Moreover, their dining etiquette should be flawless. Adhering to the traditional customs and manners, they must display politeness and grace, including the obligatory handshakes and engaging conversations. A grim discussion. When a new president takes office in the White House, there's an extensive list of tasks to tackle. Among them is a somber and, some might say, morbid responsibility that arises within the first week of their presidency, planning their own funeral. While it may seem unsettling, it's a practical step to take in case the worst should happen. The transition from being a candidate to the leader of a nation is undoubtedly an exciting and historic moment. However, sitting down to contemplate the details of a funeral is a stark and less enjoyable aspect of this position. It's a testament to the gravity of the role, where presidents must not only govern, but also consider their own funeral arrangements. Funerals for presidents are steeped in tradition and rituals, a reflection of the nation's respect for its leaders. These ceremonies typically extend over approximately 5 days, showcasing the deep-seated reverence and honor accorded to those who have held the highest office in the land. Scrutiny. While being chauffeured around by highly trained Secret Service agents may seem pretty amazing, there are certainly some drawbacks to being the child of a president. When your parent holds such a prominent position, you inevitably find yourself in the public eye, subject to intense scrutiny. This means that everything you do becomes a point of interest for the media and the public alike. For young Baron Trump, this spotlight became particularly evident during his father's inauguration. Amid the grandeur of the event, many observers had their eyes on him. Unfortunately, the young boy faced criticism for a seemingly ordinary act: yawning. Yes, during the ceremony, Barron appeared to struggle to keep his eyes open, and this minor moment didn't escape the watchful gaze of those in attendance and the media, sparking discussion and commentary. Do not enter. Much like the numerous rules governing life within the White House, there are also quite a few regulations when it comes to moving into the presidential residence. On Inauguration Day, the president and their family typically have a packed schedule filled with various ceremonial duties. However, there's one notable restriction in place. They are not permitted to enter the White House until noon on that day. This delay stems from the fact that the president's term officially ends at noon on Inauguration Day, marking the beginning of the new term. Once this moment arrives, the family is then allowed to move into the White House. The process can be quite hectic, especially for the White House staff who have a busy day of preparations and transitions to manage. Car keys. If you prefer taking an Uber over driving, this particular restriction for presidential families might not seem too bothersome. You see, once the president takes the oath of office, they and their family members are no longer allowed to get behind the wheel and hit the public roads. This rule, like many others, primarily exists for security reasons. In the case of the Trump family, his children, including Barron, are not permitted to drive on public roads. Instead, they rely on Secret Service agents to chauffeur them around. It's worth noting that these agents undergo extensive training in evasive and defensive driving techniques, ensuring the safety and security of the presidential family while on the move. So, while they may not be driving themselves, they are certainly in capable hands. Gifts. There's a rather peculiar rule that governs gift giving when it comes to the first family. As you can imagine, they receive a multitude of gifts from foreign diplomats, celebrities, and various individuals. However, there's an interesting process in place for handling these gifts. Whenever a gift is presented to the first family, it must be sent to the National Archive, where it is meticulously logged in and appraised. Here's where it gets even more unusual. Any presents with a value of $375 or higher are categorized as property of the United States government. These valuable gifts are then securely stored in the National Archive. What's perhaps the quirkiest part of this process is that the first family has the option to purchase these items at their fair market value. Language. While the members of the British royal family are known for their proficiency in multiple languages, Melania Trump could certainly give them a run for their money in the linguistic department. The First Lady boasts fluency in an impressive 5 languages, including her native Slovenian. Her language repertoire also includes English, French, Serbian, and German. Throughout Barron's upbringing, Melania made sure to expose him to her multilingual abilities, particularly in English, French, and Slovenian. As a result, Barron has grown up to be fluent in both English and Slovenian, which undoubtedly facilitates communication with his maternal grandparents. Beyond being an impressive feat in itself, the Trump family's multilingualism is incredibly practical given their frequent international travels and hosting of guests from around the world. They can't post whatever they want on social media. Social media, a relatively recent technological advancement, lacks official regulations concerning its use by presidential children. Consequently, it's uncommon to witness younger presidential offspring actively engaging on social platforms, and the reasons behind this are quite evident. Being in the public eye from the get-go, presidential children naturally attract substantial attention, and embracing social media would only intensify this scrutiny. While adult children of presidents may opt to craft a public image via social media, it's highly unlikely that we'll witness minor presidential offspring venturing into the realm of social media influencers anytime soon. For instance, back in 2018, Melania Trump disclosed in a speech that her then 12-year-old son, Barron Trump, the sole Trump child residing at home at the time, did not possess any social media accounts. Likewise, in 2016, Barack Obama revealed that his 15-year-old daughter, Sasha Obama, had a Twitter presence, though her account remained private. Reports from the Washington Post suggested that both Sasha and Malia Obama might have had multiple social media accounts, albeit maintained privately, with a dedicated staffer keeping an eye on their online activities. Life in the White House for presidential children comes with a unique set of challenges, rules, and traditions. From the restrictions on their daily activities to the scrutiny they face in the public eye, these young individuals navigate a world that is far from typical. We hope you've gained insights into the intriguing world of the Trump family and the rules their kids must adhere to. If you found this content interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What do you think about the rules that the Trump kids have to follow? Are they necessary, or should they have more freedom? Share your opinions in the comments section below to let us know. Until next time, bye for now.